As we wait for that, I want to welcome in a guest with a very, very interesting perspective on all of this. Daniel Hernandez joins us. He was just an intern when he actually helped to save the life of Congresswoman Gabby Giffords years ago. We all remember that incident when she was shot, meeting with her constituents in the parking lot of a supermarket. It was back in 2011 in Arizona. Welcome, Daniel. There's a look at the former Congresswoman. So you could take us back to that day, but also just maybe start by telling us what went through your mind yesterday when you saw what happened at the former president's rally.
Thank you so much for having me on. I think it's been 13 years since the shooting in Tucson happened, but seeing the footage of what was happening with former President Donald Trump immediately took me back to January 8th of 2011. I could remember the smell of the gun smoke, the chaos. And I think looking at the video of the people behind it, that is what happens in a shooting. There's a lot of chaos. A lot of things are happening. It's very fluid. So it's something that's really triggering for those of us who are survivors of gun violence, but also of political violence events like the ones that we saw here. And I think what we're seeing is the result of two uniquely American problems. The first is a very, very heated political rhetoric, where instead of focusing on ideas and going after ideas and policies, we're going after each other as people. And it's not enough to just win, you have to destroy the other side. And I think this ratcheting up of the political temperature has really driven the violence that we're seeing. Whether it was Governor Whitmer being, potentially kidnapped in Michigan, or whether it was the shooting of the congressional baseball game a few years after Gabby's shooting. We're seeing this ratcheting up and destroying the other side. And the other is the easy accessibility of firearms. One of the things that I think is not being talked enough about is this is a uniquely American problem. Gun violence continues to be a problem in America. And it wasn't just a failure of the Secret Service part. It was the fact that in Pennsylvania, a 20-year-old cannot rent a car, but was able to buy an AR-15 and shoot at a former president.
Yeah, in this case, we believe his father bought the gun. But your point about the rhetoric is not only well taken, but it reminds us that we have been here before. Have we seen this exact incident before? No, but we've had almost identical conversations to the one that we're having today when Congresswoman Giffords was shot, when those other incidents took place. We talked then about rhetoric being too heated, about how we needed to dial things back and be more responsible with our words. And now, yet here we are again today, right? Now, not only that, do I want to talk to you about that, but I also want to talk to you about the practical nature of what happens in incidents like this. We literally, none of us know what we're going to do in a situation, right, until we're in it. And we might think we would act quickly if there's a shooting in a building where we are, or whatever the case may be, but we don't know. And some people freeze up naturally. There's no judgment on them. Some people panic. Some people scream. Right. Some people take action. You did, right? I'm sure you don't necessarily want to toot your own horn about that, but you took action. And people yesterday, not only Secret Service agents, but there were some physicians in the stands. People took action, right, and tried to help.
And that's, I think, the thing that we never really know until it happens. I unfortunately have had to be a first responder more than once. There was a stabbing at a local Tucson bar where somebody who was with me was an Air Force medic, froze up, completely in shock. I then had to say, okay, how do we make sure that this person gets what they need? On the phone with 911, trying to do an assessment.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.